Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Ganglani. And, well, I know it's been a while since we've had an episode. It's been a busy last few weeks. Decided to take a little break as well, reset, recharge, make some changes to the podcast. And I am stoked because, well, we're going to have some surprises for our listeners coming up. We're going to have some live shows where listeners get to comment, listeners get to react, ask questions to some of the guests. We're going to have some shows with a little more visual experience, so to say. So bear with us if there are some growing pains along the way. But we appreciate you all, especially the listeners who are coming back once again. And to the new listeners, we hope our efforts will make you want to stay for the long haul. Now, we've got a special episode today because we're going to talk about a movie that I think people are going to enjoy in about a week or so. And we've partnered with some friends for this episode. And I am bringing back some familiar guests for this episode as well. Now, before I get there, though, I think it's clear to say that with the summer heat, with just the humidity and what sometimes feels like literal hell in Manila in this time of the calendar year, things can happen. You can get really thirsty. You can lose all your ambition to work. And sometimes your air cons at home are going to get busted. Well, to keep that air con clean so you feel cold at night and not warm, you have to make sure you clean it regularly. To do that, why don't you check out this word from the cleaning coach to tell you more about why they should be the ones you trust to clean your AC.
When it comes to cleaning a home or office, most people just know the basics. Mopping the floor, wiping off dust and dirt is pretty standard. While all that can make a place look clean, it doesn't mean it is clean. Making a place truly clean and virus-free requires a professional help. That's where the cleaning coach comes in. The cleaning coach provides outstanding general cleaning, commercial cleaning, post-construction cleanup, upholstery cleaning, floor, carpet cleaning, aircon cleaning, and disinfection at a very reasonable price. The cleaning coach and his team will do all the scrubbing, dusting, polishing, disinfecting, and sanitizing, so you won't have to. Making your place look clean that you can also smell and feel. You will experience the difference. Now that's stress-free cleaning to a better normal, done professionally by the cleaning coach. Contact the cleaning coach today to learn more.
All right. We have some familiar friends of the show. Jason and Rey, he's a writer for Adobo Magazine when it comes to film reviews in the Philippines. And of course, Ray De La Cruz. You guys know him better as Ray View online. And today we're going to do something different. We're not going to do an episode reviewing a movie that's already come out, although we might do something similar for this film, but we're going to actually preview it because a new Planet of the Apes movie is releasing in about a week's time. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is a standalone sequel to War of the Planet Apes, which released in 2017. This is the fourth installment in the reboot that started really half a century ago or more. And there's a lot of excitement for this movie. There's a lot of anticipation. I've been catching up on my Planet of the Apes lore the last few days as I prepare for this film, which is out, I believe, on May 8th in Manila. And, well, we're going to get to watch it before that. So we can't wait to tell you more about what's in store if you're going to check out this movie in the cinemas. I think it's going to have a good story. I think a refresh for franchises can sometimes do it a lot of wonders, bring back some of that mystique, bring a modern version of storytelling. And this movie in particular, it's going to be led by a director writer combo that I'm eager to see what their work is about. Jason here has been a longtime fan of the franchise, so to say. And when I say long time, I mean not just the 2000s and the new millennium reboot. I'm talking about old school, like old graphics, old screen. So, Jason, why don't you go ahead and tell us about how much this franchise means to you and what are you looking forward to with this reboot and what do you want to see from this upcoming movie?
I was telling you guys, my experience with the classic Planet of the Apes stems from actually the second movie in the series, which was Beneath the Planet of the Apes from 1970. Because when I was a kid in the 80s, we had that on Betamax. And we kept watching that movie, my brother and I, even though I didn't understand the concept back then. I kept watching it. It wasn't probably until the 1990s that I got to see the very first Planet of the Apes movie from 1968, the one starring Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowell. And that's the one that stands the test of time, the original Planet of the Apes from 1968. It was based off a novel by Pierre Boulle from 1963. And there are so many memorable lines, memorable scenes from that film. The makeup effects was so groundbreaking that decades later people are still talking about amazing makeup that they placed to basically copy chimpanzees or orangutans and gorillas onto the faces of human beings, human actors. So that's my affiliation. There were actually four sequels to 1968's Planet of the Apes. But after Beneath, everything was not good anymore. I haven't even gotten around to watching the three that followed. I was excited for the 2001 by Tim Burton starring Mark Wahlberg, which was kind of based off the novel also, but that ended up as a disappointment as well. So when the whole franchise was rebooted, and then they introduced concepts like the simian flu, among other things, um, that kind of made more sense, and it's progressed considerably since. I thought that with the 2017 film that Naveen just mentioned, the film franchise was dead, but 7 years later, I guess people are still fascinated by the whole concept of the whole idea of apes evolving to become the apex predator on Earth, while humans seem to be devolving. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie because it's set years after the events of the last film. Here, it's the apes are even more dominant than ever. It feels more like the 1968 film where the apes, all classes of apes, are in charge of the whole world. Meanwhile, humans are hunted, they're almost mute, they're brain dead, they're being experimented on, you know. So, so yeah, I'm really excited for this, guys.
So, Ray, and thank you for those thoughts, Jason. The cast, including the director writer combo, the lead, Freya Allen, we saw her, at least for me particularly, I liked her work as Sintra in the Netflix series The Witcher. I wasn't a huge fan of the series, but in terms of some of the individual performances there, I thought she was one of those who stood out. Wes Ball is the director of this film. It is his first uh, Apes film that he's directing. He had previously directed actually the trilogy of the Maze Runner series. Let's see who else here. Josh Friedman is going to be the writer for this film. Has some actually interesting assignments coming up. Also writing the Fantastic Four 2025, Avatar 4, and an untitled Star Trek film that's coming out. Also helped out with other Avatar films before, and was the film writer for War of the Worlds in 2005 and The Black Dahlia in 2006. Worked with some notable directors in those films. And another one of the leads, Owen Teague. I think someone who is probably going to try to use this film as a way to catapult his career into bigger tasks. We'll see depending on how the film performs. So, Ray, from the people that I have mentioned, what individual are you looking forward to see in terms of their performance and helping bring this movie come to life?
Okay, from the people you've mentioned, actually, I haven't seen the Maze Runner movies before, but I know from my wife, who's a fan of the Maze Runner movies, that they were pretty good. So since Planet of the Apes is a dystopian film and yung Maze Runner is a dystopian film as well, I think at least he has that background going for him, right? And then when you listed all the writing credits of Jason Friedman, like you said, those are pretty impressive films. So it makes me even more excited to watch it now. And then for Freya Allen, I think she's a rising star. So I'm excited to see what she can show us in this movie. Actually, when I was looking at the cast for the film, there were no notable names really, except for me, the recognizable name was William H Macy, which I think
Yeah.
is parang ano siya eh, he's a character actor. Parang he fits well dun sa, kasi in the previous films, they cast Brian Cox, John Lithgow. I almost forgot that they had Gary Oldman actually in one of those films and Woody Harrelson. So they don't really rely on like A-list actors, like big name actors, but they rely on good actors, great actors. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and that's gonna help the movie to a certain degree, but I think what's really gonna help the movie too is to add a new flavor to it. Because not to say that the sequels in the last film weren't great. I think some people wanted a fresh story, a different character, a different lead, and this film taking place 300 years after the last week sequel is going to give the platform and the stage to help some new characters shine. Now, whether that's an ape character or a human character, we will find out. But I think it's going to be interesting because I was watching this in a video online recently where if the original trilogy was the Stone Age or the Primitive Age, then technically what we're gonna see now is the Bronze Age. So, Jason, what about
Nice.
that makes you eager for this film?
That's an interesting idea, no? I'm really happy that you mentioned that, Navs, about you know jumping ahead 300 years, because the last couple of films that we saw in this series, humans were still part of society, right? The apes had just taken over. So this jump of 300 years, the apes are already ahead. Lamang na. They're on top of the 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 food chain basically, and with humans being the hunted, it's more in line with what we saw from the 1968 film. When the Charlton Heston character Taylor arrives on the planet of the apes, he sees that humans don't even speak. They can't speak. They've lost the ability to speak, and they're being experimented on by the chimpanzees, the chimpanzee class, while the gorillas and the orangutans are in charge. So, if it's somewhat similar but taken to a new level, especially with CG effects and better makeup, and not just the practical effects of old, I'd be interested to see how this story evolves, how this whole concept is taken to 2024. I'm really curious more than ever.
Same here. I'm also particularly curious to see what May is going to do in this movie. The person who
Mhm.
I have mentioned is, well, I didn't mention, but it's going to be played by Freya Allen, who we saw as Sintra.
Yeah.
There's going to be an appeal to this character that I think people are going to want to really latch upon. And maybe that's because it's the main human lead in a movie with a bunch of very intelligent apes. But I think she's also going to provide the heart and soul of this movie in terms of characters. Now, the fight sequences of the last movies were always awesome. I always enjoyed it. I thought it jumped off the screen. Ray, was that something you found interesting? Is that something you think they're going to be able to even enhance upon in these upcoming films?
Yeah, actually, what I liked about the previous trilogy, like the late millennial trilogy, more than being, kasi I think the 1960s Planet of the Apes, the approach was more of a sci-fi approach. I like that dun sa most recent trilogy, it's more grounded in realism, which was the trend for movies back then. So the whole thing started from an experiment, and then nag-devolving humans because of a virus. So I mean, we came out from the pandemic, so it's not far fetched, diba? And more than the sci-fi element of it, there are like legitimate moments in the trilogy that I found like scary, parang horror, medyo horror leaning. Parang siyang, it's more of a horror movie and a thriller movie at times. And then of course the action like you mentioned. So I think War of the Planet of the Apes was one of the biggest ones when it comes to like yung set pieces. I think from the trailers alone we can see that we'll see more of that, bigger set pieces like that. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they have in store for us.
Exactly. And we're going to talk more about that excitement and what's to come. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Now, it's not always easy to make time to work out, but health is very important. Health is wealth. I truly believe that. So, it's a good investment having some gym equipment in your house. Need a quick workout done in 20-30 minutes? Pick up a dumbbell, pick up a kettlebell, maybe even do some yoga. You have all the options. Find out more here.
Transform your sweat into strength and your doubts into determination. Welcome to the journey of Fitspire.
No excuses. Fitspire.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to put the link in the description so that you may avail your gym equipment at home with a 10% discount using the code word NAVS Effect 10. More details in the description box. If you're on Spotify, more details in the about this episode section. Now, Caesar was, shall we say, an alluring character for many reasons. We saw him grow up in the original trilogy, and I really am curious which ape character is going to be that for this film, or will they focus that energy, that attention more towards May? Because, like we've mentioned in this setting, the apes are now really the superior race, right? There's no process of explaining how they took over the world. And by the way, next time, everyone, please make sure you do not infect a pilot if you are sick. Just putting that out there. Um, but that's something that I'm looking forward to in this film. And particularly also how much better the CGI graphics are going to be compared to what it was 10 years ago, because that was already pretty damn good as well. But based on the trailer alone, I think we're going to see even more details, meticulous work. The surroundings right here, we're watching a glimpse and pieces of the trailer. I think it's going to be exquisite. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we were mentioning earlier, back in the day, the 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 makeup that was used in the original Planet of the Apes, the first five films actually was something that blew everybody's minds. Even the Simpsons made fun of it, and it it was it was so different from anything that had been done before. But of course, now that we're in the age of digital effects and artificial intelligence and stuff, the you don't need to have practical makeup. It's already all CG. Even from the Tim Burton film in the early 2000s, the actors still copied the movements of apes. Andy Serkis, when he was King Kong, did the same thing. So I think there's going to be a mix of both CG and practical effects for this film, Kingdom. So again, you're right, Naveen. It's always exciting to see an old concept brought to today because of the effects, the improvements in effects over the course of time. So in the course of 7 years, you want to see, how much better can they make these apes look? They already look like they have souls when you look into their eyes. So the interactions between the apes, and here the interactions between the apes and humans, it can look more real than it has ever looked before. So yeah.
Ray, any wild theories or predictions or surprises that you think we're gonna see from this new reboot?
I think just to add on to what you just said about Caesar, no. So I think he's very central to the story, diba? The past three movies, all thanks to brilliant performance of Andy Serkis, I think he's been a memorable character, and some of the people who are coming into this as fans, they grew to love the Planet of the Apes because of Caesar the character, and as well as the other interesting characters. So for me, ako personally, since I'm a fan of the Matt Reeves Planet of the Apes movies, I'm looking forward to see what kind of legacy he has on the apes. Is he like a godlike figure, like a parang like Julius Caesar, maybe, di ba? Parang ganon. So is he like a conqueror? Parang ganon. Kasi yung most recent movie, parang it was, akala natin si Cornelius, yung son niya, would like take on the mantle and he would be the next ruler. But then we get a time jump of like 300 years, di ba? So that's what I'm curious about. And what I'm interested to see is, kasi like dun sa previous three movies, I like how in each movie, you can see how the apes are slowly evolving. Like from the very first time that Caesar said his first word, and then the succeeding movies, they grew to learn how to like construct sentences. Dun sa trailer kasi parang they're still not there yet. Medyo primitive pa din. So I want to see what's the next step in evolution in this movie.
You know what I want to see is some apes rapping. Yeah, yeah. Like put on the cap, put on the new pants and all those, those bomber jackets, and be like, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if we're gonna get that, but that would just be pretty cool. I think that's gonna be. Uh, Although some a surprise along those lines would be very curious. Like something funny that humans would do every day. Let that be the next question. What would be something random that humans do every day that you'd like to see the apes do in this film? Let's go with you first, Ray.
Hmm. Ano ba? Like,
My answer is already there. I said I want to see an ape rap, whether that's like modern rap in 300 years into the story's future.
wala kasing internet dun sa setting ng next movie, but probably if they had internet, argue on the internet, which is like what a lot of people do nowadays, right?
like there's an Instagram for the apes also.
Yeah, like social
Something
media
like
for
that.
apes, di ba?
Like online dating also with their
Yeah,
apes. Like
pwede, di ba?
we match, we don't. You send a banana if you guys match, or something like that, or you click a gun if you don't match because apparently they're also into war. Jason, how about you?
Very in line with the Navs effect. I'd be interested to see if they played sports.
Yeah,
you know what their
actually.
sports would be like. Would they be into basketball, or would they be into football or whatever? Then how would they be playing these games? Would it devolve into they just throw
Quidditch.
rocks at each other? You know, Quidditch is something. If they find brooms, the golden snitch. Yeah, that's a concept that it's out there. Because I remember in the old movie, their sport was really hunting human.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly.
And,
mm,
and
And I think that's gonna be huge in this film too, because the humans really are the prey, while the apes are the predators.
in the original film, the central character was Taylor, the astronaut played by Charlton Heston. But there was a human character also called Nova, who was this woman, and she was his connection because she was syempre may itsura na babae, so that he was attracted to her. Yet there were also apes who were helping Taylor out, Zira and her husband Cornelius. So I guess that's the inspiration for the name of Cornelius in the Matt Reeves films. So they were the ones who were helping Taylor out to figure out what happened to his fellow astronauts. But there were malevolent apes. There were evil ones like Dr. Zeus, that orangutan who was like a pseudo scientist slash religious leader. And that original Planet of the Apes, it was a warning against nuclear war. So around that time, that was Cold War
Yeah.
era. It's
Yeah.
very prevalent back then. And Ray, you were asking me off cam
yeah.
earlier about Beneath the Planet of the Apes. It was also about uh, there was a nuclear element to that film
Mhm.
also. Of course, now we're in post Cold War, but it's Putin and everything. So I don't think we're going to get that kind of overarching evil concept on top of everything. But I'm still curious about what these new filmmakers have in mind for the overall concept of these apes that have taken over the world.
Great points, Jason. And now, before we end this podcast, and I'm going to end with a question I really want to ask both of you because it's related to the future of this franchise. I do want to mention we have a giveaway for listeners of this podcast and those who follow us on social media. Yes, we are giving tickets to the special screening of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's on Tuesday, May 7, 5:30 p.m. IMAX Theater, SM Mega Mall. We are giving multiple tickets, a total of 6 actually. If you want to join this contest, the guidelines are very easy. You just have to answer a question, comment your answer, and put the right, well, tag the right accounts, follow the right accounts rather, and join in on the fun. You can find the post on the Facebook page of Ray. That's Ray View on Facebook. We are going to link the page to get you to that giveaway contest in the description box in the about this episode section for Spotify. So if you want to attend the special screening of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at SM Mega Mall, IMAX. And by the way, these premieres, Jason, Ray, and myself have been to them. They're always a lot of fun, a lot of great energy. The setups are always nice. SM does a great job. Disney always does a great job setting this up too. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So join this contest. Again, the link will be in the description box. 6 tickets up for grabs. All right, guys. So predictions time. No spoilers, no story spoilers. More about the long term outlook of this franchise. Because if they play their cards right, we can look at a complete, timeline of the different evolution stages of apes. Like I said, we were kind of in the Stone Age in the start, in the original sequel. And then now we're kind of going to the Bronze Age. So there's, I believe, the next would be the Iron Age after Bronze Age. So predictions. Let's start with you, Jason. Then we can go to Ray. What do you think will be the outlook for the Planet of the Apes franchise after Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
You know, I mentioned earlier that whole nuclear idea over the old films. That's a concept that these films could eventually get to because spoiler alert, they are on the Earth and it's set in the future of the Earth. So finding old nuclear bombs or old nukes that haven't been exploded yet, and yet it's a concept that they've talked about before, where it would prove that the apes have taken over and they are the apex predators already, that they figured out a way to make nuclear bombs. They're no better than humans. So I guess that's an unfortunate thing that could happen. Otherwise, I'd be happy if they get to the Industrial Revolution and you see apes walking around in suits and very steampunk era, Be perfect fine getting there. That might be more humorous than a serious take like what we're used to.
How about you, Ray?
Ako, I think the story arc that we should expect moving forward is like if the message is that apes are no better than humans. So what's the logical progression? I think eventually they'll probably wage civil war against each other with like kasi parang so far it's been for the most part they had conflicts within themselves, but it's been apes versus humans. So I think eventually it will be like a tribe of apes that's more friendly to sympathetic to humans battling against like a tribe of apes that's against humans. So tingin ko that's the war that they'll wage like on a bigger scale in the movies that will come in the future.
Fantastic. I want to thank these two gentlemen for joining me tonight. I know we had to reschedule this a few times, but we got to do it. I'm excited for the movie. I'm excited to see you both as well for the film premiere in about a week's time, a little less. And I think it's going to be a good movie. I think it's going to be one that we're going to say at the end of the year, oh, that was an underrated film. So let's see how it turns out. Thank you to our sponsors, Cleaning Coach and Fitspire. Thanks to the listeners. Appreciate you all. Stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. Till then, have fun, enjoy life, and please stay hydrated. Peace out, everybody.